Please, thank you very much for coming and having the blissful darsans of Maharaj and Sri Sri Param Karuna Gauranitai. Um, yes, before we go to the next part, I want to make a very brief introduction about Maharaj. Actually, Maharaj don't need any introduction, and I have no words, and I have no sadhana or no bhakti that I can do introduction of Maharaj. His uh, his tapa or his bhakti is so great that I can't say anything about it. But for some new members here, want to give it only few lines of introduction about Maharaj. Um, so His Holiness BhaktiBhushan Swami Maharaj, he is the direct disciple of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol. Maharaj. So there is a very interesting thing like when Prabhupada came to Germany first time in European Yatra and in Hamburg, and Maharaj received Srila Prabhupada and Maharaj got the initiation during the Hamburg visit. So it was the day of Janmashtami, as I understand, when Maharaj got the initiation. So this is really a very, very auspicious that Maharaj, in the initial meeting itself, got the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and got initiation and on the auspicious day of Janmashtami. And Maharaj has actually done so much service. I want to say in a very single line that Maharaj is one of the foundation pillars of ISKCON in Europe, in South America, Central America, in communist countries. Maharaj has done a lot of preaching and he has been instrumental in opening many temples for ISKCON. For example, Berlin Temple, Munich Temple, they are just few examples, but there are several such nice examples where the devotees are learning the Vedic culture, bhakti, and getting devotional congregation and serving the Lord. Maharaj has also done a lot of preaching in the communist countries, which is very, very difficult. And now you see how the movement and the mission of Srila Prabhupada is flourishing in these communist countries. This is because of these great saints like Maharaj, that who has preached so much with enthusiasm and conviction. So today we are very, very lucky, very, very fortunate that we got the transcendental persons of Maharaj. And Maharaj has done a lot of, in millions of people, he has changed their lives and he's still changing the lives. We are lucky that we got Maharaj here. Maharaj is just now traveling to South America again in a few days only, next coming week only. And we got his appointment. This is already a very, very fortunate thing for us. So please pray for the future journey of Maharaj and for the benefit of everyone. We say at least 3 times big Hari Bol for Maharaj. Hari Bol. His Holiness BhaktiBhushan Swami Maharaj ki. Thank you very much. Thank you, Maharaj.
So did you select the verse or did you select the verse?
Just came automatically. But I just spoke only a drop from the ocean.
So I read from Bhagavad-gita.
Yeah, now we will have a nectarian katha of Maharaj.
Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Vihare Jaya Radha Punya Vihare Advaita Abha Girivara
Sri Advaita Gadadhar Jivasi Om Bhaktavinda Sri Radha Krishna Gopavina Shyamapanda Radha Vrindavanam Rajadam Kulasi Devi Gichari Bhakti Devi Gichari Samavira all glories to the seven nations, all glories to the seven nations, all glories to the seven nations, Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 So I selected a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. And it's fourth chapter, no, ninth chapter, and the 14th verse. Sadhatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantashta Gitavataha Namasyantashtavam Bhaktya Nitya Yukta Upasate Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Bhaktashta Gitavataha Namastantashamam bhaktya Nitya yukta upasate. Nitya yukta upasate. Somebody? Satatam kirtayanto mam. Satatam kirtayanto mam. Sadam kirtayanto mam. Satatam kirtayanto mam. Satatam kirtayanto mam. Nitya yukta upasate. Ladies. Satatam kirtayanto mam.
Namaskar Bhaktya Vidyayita Upasate. Sadatam Kirtayantam Vikantasvaram Namaskar Vidyayita Upasate.
We're going to read the word for word translation. Satatam, always. Kirtananta, chanting. Mam, about me. Kirtanta, fully endeavoring. Cha, also. Vidhavrata, with determination. Namasyanta, offering obeisances. Cha, and Mam, me. Bhaktya, in devotional service. Sayukta, perpetually engaged. Upasate, worship. Translation. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, going down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. The Mahatma cannot be manufactured in by rubber stamping an ordinary man. His symptoms are described here. The Mahatma is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. He has no other business. He's always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. In other words, he's not an impersonalist. When the question of glorification is here, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord, praising his holy name, his eternal form, his transcendental qualities, and his uncommon pastimes. One has to glorify all these things. Therefore, Mahatma is attached to the Supreme Personality of God. One is attached to the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord. The Brahmajyoti is not described as Mahatma in the Bhagavad Gita. He is described in a different way. In the next verse, the Mahatma is always engaged in different activities of devotional service as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing and chanting about Vishnu. Not a demigod, a human being. That is devotion. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, and Smaranam. Remembering him. Such a Mahatma has firm determination to achieve at the ultimate end the association of the Supreme Lord in any one of the 5 transcendental rasas. To achieve that success, he engages all his activities, mental, bodily, and vocal, everything, in the service of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. That is called full Krishna consciousness. In devotional service, there are certain activities which are called determined, such as fasting on certain days, like the 11th day of the moon, Ekadasi, and on the appearance day of the Lord. All these rules and regulations are offered by the great acharyas for those who are actually interested in getting admission into the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world. The Mahatmas, great souls, strictly observe all these rules and regulations, and therefore they are sure to achieve the desired result. As described in the 2nd verse of this chapter, not only is the devotional service easy, but it can be performed in a happy mood. One does not need to undergo any severe penances and austerities. He can live this life in devotional service, guided by the expert spiritual master, and in any position, either as a householder or sannyasi or brahmachari. In any position, in anywhere in the world, he can perform this devotional service to the Supreme Persons of Godhead and thus become actual Mahatma, a great soul. Read the verse again. Satatam kirtayanto bhangyatanda shravita vitava namasyanti namasyanti bhaktya nitya yukta pasate. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, going down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So here we hear from a chapter which is known as the most confidential knowledge. The Power explained that Bhagavad Gita is actually divided into 3 parts, 18 chapters. And so 3 parts of each 6 chapters. The Power compared this to a book, like this book. There's a cover protecting the rest of the Bhagavad Gita. The same way, the first 6 chapters and the last 6 chapters also embedding, housing in the middle. That's the most confidential. And what is the most confidential part? The most confidential part is devotional service, loving devotional service to the Supreme Personality of God. Actually, this term, Supreme Personality of Godhead, was created by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada came to the West and he adopted something like the 3 modes of material nature or something. There's also Prabhupada's vocabulary. So the devotional service, loving devotional service is actually very, very confidential. Mostly people are not so much interested in, even when they're religious, not interested in loving devotional service. What does that mean? Normally, people worship God because they want some benedictions. They're searching for some benefit, personal benefit. They go to the mosque, they go to the temple, they go to the church and pray, or give us a daily bread, for example, in Christian tradition. Actually, Prabhupada said that there's no need to pray to God for our daily bread. He maintains all the living entities all over. The animals, the insects, the birds, they all have their quota. And there's not really a need to ask God for bread. Prabhupada gave an example, in the beginning, when Prabhupada was still in India, Prabhupada had watched something, that the temple would, the people would go to the Christian church, and the communists would come and say, "So, did you get your bread?" They admitted no, and then said, "Look, we gave you bread. Actually, you should become a member of the Communist Party, and then you get your bread." Like that. But actually, Prabhupada said, nobody dared to ask the communists, "Where did you get the bread from?" Where did you get the grain? There's no laboratory where they ever produced a single grain, or just a drop of milk or something like that, or a simple spinach, a leaf of spinach, or anything like that. Bananas, papayas, and the king of fruit, mango. Actually, these things are given to us. Why? Because Krishna is maintaining. He's our maintainer. And so it says that when actually it's very fortunate. And after many births in different species, he finally is given a human form of life. And actually, this is a golden opportunity to solve all our existential problems. Our existential problems is not eating. It's not have enough to eat. Actually, the Prabhupada mentioned that 4 existential problems: birth, death, old age, and disease. This is our condition type. The condition. What are we looking for? We want to be happy. We're looking for knowledge. We want to educate ourselves, and we want to be. We don't want to die. We want to exist forever. This is actually like according to the information that the Shastra gives us. These qualities are actually the qualities of the soul. The soul. These are our inherent qualities. Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. Sat, eternity, Chit, knowledge, and Ananda. That's in English. Good. Happy. Happy. That's why we're looking for this everywhere. But we don't find it. These things that we get are very temporary. Also, the happiness that we achieve is very short. We're working hard. That's like, for example, normally people go to work, and they're waiting for the weekend to enjoy. And then again, they go to work on the Monday. Trauriger Monday. Again, they have to work with the hope that, okay, in the weekend I will enjoy. I get some money, I will enjoy it. So this is our condition. We're working, we desire all these things, but we don't get them. And Krishna is revealing to us the secret how to actually achieve these goals by re-establishing our relationship with Him. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it says that Nitya Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitanam Eko Vidadati Kamal. There's a verse that Prabhupada used to quote quite a lot. Nitya Nityanam. Amongst all the conscious living entities, Chaitana Chaitananam, as this means conscious living entity. Amongst the eternally living conscious living entities, Ego Bahunam. Ego means one. Ego Bahunam. There's one living entity who's different. Like all these living entities distributed all of the creation. And there's one Ego Bahunam, which is different. And what is the difference? That this living entity is actually maintaining all the rest of the living entities. Like I mentioned, we cannot produce even a single banana, simple banana or food or something like that. This is all given by the mercy of the Lord. Mysteriously, these things appear before us. Anyway, so amongst all the living entities, uncountable living entities, as Ego Bhakti. And to understand this Supreme Person is actually the goal of love. Not only that, not only understand this controller, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam. Ishvara means controller. Ishvara Sarva Bhutan, Riddha Serum. He is the supreme, amongst all living entities, he is supreme. Sarva Karana Karma. And it's the cause of all causes, the original cause. I still remember there was a discussion that Prabhupada had in London with somebody. When Prabhupada came to London, normally the devotees always brought important people to see him. And so one day they brought a famous artist. He was a sculptor. And so Prabhupada talked to him. What Prabhupada usually did was he was welcoming people. He was very, very kind with them. Like that. And then normally Prabhupada came to the point, so what is your philosophy? And he started speaking about philosophy. And sometimes Baba became very stern. And then at the end, again, he became very friendly, and he made sure that they got a plate of prasad. Is that prasad? Give him prasad. You can hear them that conversation, recordings. So this man had listened to Srila Prabhupada, and then he asked, so everything has a cost. So what is the cost of Krishna? What is the cost of Krishna? And Prabhupada went on explaining, but he said that actually Krishna has no cost. Krishna is the cause of all causes. So this is what Krishna explains, very detailed way in the Bhagavad Gita. Just like now, we heard here, that devotion service is not just some sentiment, but actually Baba used to say, this is science. Like the scientists, when there's actually proper science, they have a declaration. They say things like, for example, water is composed of oxygen and what's the English word?
Hydrogen.
Yeah, hydrogen. Yeah, and then they have to also give a process by which one can prove that actually this is true. And then they also have to present the result. They have to show you the water that they produce. For example, modern science is actually not being properly based in this way. For example, they say life comes from matter, but no scientist ever has proven this. It's just a declaration. It's just actually speculation. No laboratory they have been able to produce life from matter. Actually, life. Besides that, you cannot create life because life is eternal. The soul is eternal. This particle within this body in the region of the heart, where all this energy is coming from, distributed all over the body, that part is actually eternal. Eternal. Like I said, Satchidananda. We also have these qualities that Krishna has. The difference between us and God is that God is unlimited and we are very, very tiny, very limited. Just like Baba used to give the example of fire. And sometimes there's some sparks jumping out of the fire. And they have the same quality as the fire, but very small. And then they fall on different surfaces. For example, they fall on water. They lose transcendental original quality. Anyway, so they may also fall on the stone or the marble or something like that. They maintain their fiery quality for some time. And if they fall on dry grass or paper or something like that, and you fire, and they maintain their fiery quality. So in the same way, we are also conditioned by nature, or more, particularly by the three modes of materialism. Like I mentioned, the Power gave us its expression, the modes of nature. And they consist of three modes. One, on that, what is that? Yeah? Goodness, goodness. Goodness, passion, ignorance. They also describe in different colors. The white color or yellow color, red, passion, and dark color, mode of ignorance. And we are all under the control. We are controlled by these three modes of material nature. We are under the influence of the emotional nature. And that's why we act the way we act. We take birth the way we take birth, and not in another family, special family, country or whatever, place, planet, like that. It's all due to the modes, especially more clear by our own activities. The mode of passion, mode of goodness, and mode of ignorance produce different results. Anyway, coming back to the point, No, we already advanced here, reading from the ninth chapter. Krishna has explained all these details in the beginning. The difference between spiritual energy and material energy. Just like we are staying at the present moment, we are staying within a human body. And Bhagavad Gita says that two coverings of the soul, of the living energy. The gross covering, earth, water, bhumira, punanuvayu, kamman, privacha, ahankarati, and pinda, bhakti-bhushan. Ashtadha. Krishna says that for 8 elements. The first one, earth, water, all the has a dense gross elements like the category of earth. All the liquid substances under category of water. Then fire, then space, air. First air. And then more subtle, from the gross to the subtle, then space. These are the 5 main elements that compose our body. But there's also subtle covering. Like Paul would give you example, like when you put on your clothes, you have some grosser clothes, an undershirt, underwear, and then the body. In the same way, we all have a covering of the gross elements, our gross body, and then also we have a subtle body. Actually, this subtle body, consisting of mana, buddhi, ahankar, mind, intelligence, and false ego, false identification. This subtle form doesn't stop existing when the gross body is dying, like falling apart. And it says that this is our vehicle for the next destination, for the next body. According to our consciousness, we are destined to accept bodies according to our mode and our activities carried out. Just like this body we have now. This body is a product of our previous activities. There's some who are born in more pious families around here. You can see the children are naturally inclined to he's hearing very attentively. At this age, normally the children don't pay so much attention when you speak about spiritual science. You might even ask questions after that. Yeah, and there are other people who are not that interested. They're more identified with their body, with the necessities of the gross body, eating, sleeping, sex life, and fear or defense. Yeah. And Bhagavad used to say that this is actually animal life. Persons who are just interested in these 4 basic things, that this is just like animal life, like the dog, the cat, the camel, whatever. They have the same interests, the same tendencies. But actually, we are in a very special position. Vedanta Sutra starts with Atatu Brahmacharya. Atatu Brahmacharya. Now, after passing through so many different forms of life, finally we have achieved the human form. And now, Atatu Brahmacharya. It's natural to ask questions, especially in the human form of life. There's so many questions. No, but it says questions should be related to Brahman, to the spiritual body. Atatu Brahmacharya. And this is actually the golden opportunity. If we take advantage of this, we are, like I mentioned before, we are actually able, by the mercy of the Lord, to solve all our existential problems. We don't have to take birth again. This is actually something very, very special, especially for Westerners. And then the Hindus, they all have that. They all, I think, at least theoretically, they understand. Yeah, I have to be careful because it's about karma. And there's a karma, vikarma. Yeah. Karma is also related to pious activities. You're trying to elevate yourself to higher, develop your consciousness more and more. And vikarma, I say, sinful kind of activities that contaminate us and drag us down and down, lower species of life. And our karma is a very interesting kind of thing. So our karma means, first of all, there's no reactions, no bad, no good reactions. And our karma has also the potency of helping us to get free from all the accumulated karma within our hearts. So we have so many seeds of karma within the heart. And sooner or later, these karmic reactions become manifest. Like I mentioned, you're born in a certain family, you're given an opportunity to educate yourself, you have a certain kind of beauty, you have influence or strength, whatever, all these things. They all depend on karma. So the evolution, the scientists say, like I said before, they speak about material evolution. But actually the real evolution is the evolution of consciousness. Evolution of consciousness. When we come to the human form of life, we can go further. Or the ultimate issue is we're very, very fortunate by the grace of the Lord, we can free ourselves from the cycle of birth and death and go back to God. Go back to God. Yeah, where we have come from. Baba used to use this expression, going back to home. Going back to home. When you go back to home, that means you have come from that home originally. Otherwise, how can you go home? Anyway, that's where we came from. And we got entangled more and more and more in the cycle of birth and death. And now, we should take advantage of this great opportunity. And Krishna is very merciful. Yada yada hi dharma saya. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that he comes regularly. When this time, so this dharma, these principles are lost, and irreligion takes manifests. You can see the effect of materialism. And they got so many problems, especially in this age of Kali Yuga. This is an age that is known as Kali Yuga. Kali means there's quarrel, I think, and hypocrisy. Actually, it says there's one verse, Krishna Vanam Trisha Krishna. Anyway, I don't remember the Sanskrit, but it says it compares this age of Kali. It compares to an ocean of weird things, complicated things, an ocean of thoughts, it says. But there's one one quality that is very special in this case. And what is that quality? That means the chanting of the holy names, like we have learned from Srila Prabhupada. Ultimately, we have learned this from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared on this planet more than 500 years ago. And he was high priest, what is that? Predict, and he was predicted. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, like Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna Vanam, Trisha Krishna, Sangupangasta, Yanti Hesa. It says that he would appear in this age of Kali Yuga. Krishna would reappear, the same Krishna who's the orador, I know the Spanish, the one who is giving us, revealing us about Gita. Again he appears, but he's not Krishna. Krishna also has another meaning. The word Krishna has another meaning, and it's dark. So anyway, so it says that he comes as our Krishna, not dark. And from the more confidential scriptures, we can understand that in this instant, Krishna appeared in a golden yellow form. And he came as a Yuga avatar. Yuga avatar. We are living now in Kali Yuga, and there's more yugas, there's actually 4 yugas. This yuga has a duration of 432,000 years. And a little more than 5,000 years have passed. And Chaitanya Maharaj was predicted in the Shastra. It says he would come, Krishna would come himself in this yellowish form. And he would chant the holy names. Sankirtan, he would chant. And he would be associated by his eternal associates. When Krishna appears, he doesn't appear, Prabhupada used to give the example of the king. When the king walks out, he's always accompanied by a lot of servants and bodyguards, and press, and who knows. Anyway, so when Krishna appears, he's also surrounded by his eternal associates. There's some associates who always appear with Krishna and adopt the same mode that Krishna adopts. Like when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, he came as a Vaishnava. Very surprising that God appeared as a devotee of himself in order to teach us how to serve Krishna. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna finishes his instructions by saying, Sarvadamam parijaja, mam kam sharanam he says, give up all your occupations, simply and surrender to me. All your dharmas, all secondary dharmas, like karma yoga, jnana yoga, astanga yoga, and all this. Give these all up and just surrender. And I protect you. I will absorb all the reactions from your activities. And then he said, don't be. So when we get this kind of instruction, way too much. Give up everything. That's why Krishna says it in the very end of the Bhagavad Gita. He doesn't say in the beginning. He's gradually elevating Arjuna to a higher position. Arjuna has a lot of arguments and he doesn't want to fight. Bhagavad Gita was spoken on the battlefield. A very, very intense situation. The war was just about to start. And Arjuna became confused, especially when he saw his family members on the other side who had adopted to fight against him. And that's natural. We always want to maintain peace and a loving relationship with our family members, friends. Arjuna presented a lot of very interesting arguments about fight. For example, that's one thing that caught my attention very much. And he said, if I kill these Kshatriyas, all these soldiers on the battlefield, their wives will be unprotected. And because they're unprotected, so many unwanted children will start taking loose. And these unwanted children will destroy the fiber of society. And you can see this. Today we can see it very clearly. In Germany, not so much, but the places where I'm normally, there's a lot of delinquency, criminals. And the criminals becoming younger and younger and younger and younger. And why is this? Because punishment. There's no planning. There are no principles, religious principles regulate this kind of activity. Just like it says, there's 10 sanskars one should undergo in this life. And there's one sanskara also to get good children. Before the parents produce the child, they are subject, no, they undergo processes that purify us. And in this condition, when the atmosphere is pure, then very special souls take shelter in this family. According to the consciousness that the parents are under, the boats that they're under, and these kind of souls become attracted to that kind of atmosphere, who have the same mode, how you say? So, anyway, so these are just, this is just a very, let's say, simple argument that he doesn't want to fight about that. So in Krishna, speaks to him, and Arjuna becomes more and more illuminated. And in the end, Krishna says to Arjuna, so Arjuna, now I have explained all this to you. Now you decide. That means God doesn't interfere in our free will. Free will. Yeah, free will. We are here because of our free will. We have become rebellious against God. That's why we're here. That's why we have taken birth in this material, this part of the creation. And if we purify our desires, then our desires will also take us to higher abodes. The highest abodes probably is to say that when you follow all these principles, you chant your rounds, you follow the principles and all that, and you mold your life in Krishna consciousness, and you go back to God. He had the hope that his disciples will all go back to God. And we have had a nice example. That was just recently, some of our God brothers left his body. I heard his speech, the last speech he gave, and I was very impressed. How clear he was, how clear, how Krishna conscious he is. And my dear Power used to say that the goal, the last test in life is death. This is like when you go to the university or go to school, then you have to pass all the exams at the end. If you're careful, you studied properly, you didn't waste time like that, then naturally you can pass the test. For the same way, actually, death is the most important moment in life. Everything is summarized at the time of death. What you remember at that time is practically the result of all that you have done, your consciousness. And if you are pure in mind, pure in heart, and you remember Krishna, this is the most auspicious death. There's a saying, there's nothing more secure than death. Everything else is not secure. The only sure thing in life is death. And this is the most important moment in life. That's why Srila Bhagavad emphasizes so much that we become prepared, well prepared. In what sense? That we become Krishna conscious, that we awaken our spiritual consciousness within the heart, which is actually in a dormant kind of state. But when we start purifying our heart, and for this time, place and time, nowadays, the process how to purify the heart is the chanting of the holy names of Harinam, Harinam, Harinam. So when things are repeated in the Vedas 3 times, that means do it, do it, do it. That's why it's emphasized 3 times. And it says in this age of Kali Yuga, there's no other process than the chanting of the There's a verse. It says that when what one achieved in the age of Satyayuga by meditating on Vishnu, after long execution of yoga, Ashtanga yoga. People used to live until 100,000 years. Valmiki Muni, for example, he practiced austerity for 60,000 years before he became completely purified and was inspired to compose the Ramayana. Valmiki is the original, composer Ramayana. Then it says what one achieved in the Treta Yuga by sacrifice, yajnas, very expensive yajnas, not like our small fire yajnas that we do sometimes, but big, and expensive. Or one achieved in the Treta Yuga by sacrifices, and what one achieved, Kite Jaya to Vishnu, Treta Yuga, by worship. I heard that actually this has many important functions. That, for example, in Satya Yuga, people would go out for their meditation, their yoga alone. They go to the forest, go to a holy place alone. And they had prepared themselves properly. They were completely free of sex desire. They were celibate. They were free of anxiety. And when you go to the forest, well, there's no anxiety. And once everything is nice, naturally you desire to have a nice companion. So this was very different. Conditions are very different. Anyway, and in this age of Kali, the process is the chanting of the holy Kalau Tat Kalau Kali Yuga Hari, the names of God. When one gets all the results of the bygone ages by the different processes practiced before, by chanting the Buddha, it's all included. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna appeared out of his causeless mercy in the form of a devotee. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches the Yuga Dharma, the Yuga Dharma, chanting of the holy Buddha. And as representative of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, our Srila Prabhupada came to the West. Prabhupada often said, I didn't come to teach you something I invented. I didn't come to teach you something new. But actually, it's a process that had always been part of the Vedic context. But in this age of Kali Yuga, as we're not able to dedicate to Ashtanga Yoga and all that properly, what we teach, when we learn yoga nowadays, it's actually gymnastic. And some breathing. But there's no yam and yam. Yam is the first step. Then one becomes a cultured person, able to control the senses and all that. And develops all this good quality, like I mentioned before. That when it's completely free of anxiety. Anyway, so in this age of Kali, the chanting is a very, very powerful process. And we can see all over the world the power brought this movement, and this movement has distributed expanded all over the world. And even came to Germany, such a simple place. Yes. Yeah. All of a sudden, the Germans would hear, don't eat meat. Oh, no. No bockwurst. No beer. Oh, yo. That is too much. And all these kind of activities, completely the motivating. And all of a sudden, when Baba came to Hamburg in 1969, we were not used to that kind of life. But somehow we were introduced to Srila Prabhupada. We heard him. We became very impressed by his personality, his bold. He was very merciful. And he inspired us to chant the holy names. He himself was chanting loud, kirtan, with Angas. Prabhupada would also play with Angas. And when Prabhupada started chanting, we all got up and danced, full of, full of yeah, no, I do. Yeah, happy. I think.
Good list.
Yeah, that was it.
Joyous.
Yeah. Anyway, and then after a while, we noticed, wow, there's also philosophy. There were no books yet, exactly. When I came to the temple the first time, we had no general edition. And we started printing a magazine. What PowerPoint started this magazine, Back to Godhead. So we started the magazine Zurück zur Gottheit. Zurück zur Gottheit. And inspired by Srila Prabhupada, yeah, we were so, we were so inspired. And we shaved up, we dressed in devotional clothes and we even went to the street and presented ourselves there and chanted the holy name. People were signing us like this. What are you doing? Are you crazy? They were actually some way saying, this hippieism has brought them to a complete crazy condition. Yeah. But after a while, we started also translating Theravada books. We started distributing Theravada books, and more incredible people started to take a notice of this. You know, it was not something as sentimental, it's something as cheap. People started hearing that we were following quite four principles: no meat, no fish, no egg, no illicit sex outside of marriage, no intoxication, no gambling. Wow, became very flat. Of course, there were also people who were saying, these completely crazy. They're completely brainwashed. The guru lets them sleep on we're sleeping on the floor, actually. We had no beds at that time. Actually, we had not even furniture at the time. There was no furniture. There were no chairs, there were no sofas and all. And we were sitting on the floor and eating prasad. No more meat, all this stuff, calories, contaminated things. Now people became very surprised. What happened to these? First they thought they are brainwashed. There was a whole campaign of brainwashing. Yeah, but in the meantime, more intelligent people had taken notice. And they started defending us. Yes, sometimes there were even court cases. And educated people, professors will come and give evidence to this is actually authentic. This is actually something based on something very, very high, very, again, I say a culture, very elevated, advanced culture, spiritual culture. And nowadays we have temples all over the world, even the most remote places. We have temples, devotees chanting, distributing Prabhupada's books, something. And they are united by one thing, chanting. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, what's that? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Any question? California? Yeah.
You mentioned
Nobody does. Ich hoffe, ich kann deine Frage beantworten.
I'm sure you can. And when you explain a little bit or you share the experience in the beginning, connection to try to spread Krishna consciousness and how the reaction was of the people. So my question is, sure, nowadays it's like we are more, the people know us, let's say, but still there are so many people who don't know us or have like a negative attitude towards us. And my question is, what you did in that time to not lose your faith or determination to going on with the preaching?
I don't know this. Prabhupada would have Buddhism. I say Buddhism. They're very inspired by Srila. And actually, Prabhupada's presence was felt. Even though he was not in our place, but it was felt. By following the instructions of the Prabhupada, we felt the presence of Srila. That's like Prabhupada explained very on. There's two ways of associating with the Vani and Vapu. The Vapu and the Vapu means you have personal association. You serve the spiritual master. You serve the Prasad. You have so many ways. But this opportunity are very rare. Because especially when the spiritual master has many disciples all over the world. And he's traveling, most of the spiritual masters are all sannyasis, most of them traveling all the time. Yeah. And this is a rare opportunity that these days in the world. Yeah. But then Vani, Prabhupada used to say that actually Vani was even more important. What does it mean? Vani means to follow the instructions. That's actually the essence. Yeah. That's like Prabhupada used to say, like the father. When the child is very young, he just educates the child, protects the child like that. But with the, I say, with the hope, that each child will grow up, become more responsible, and continue with this business